There are quite a few questions here on the CAL FIRE contract and whether they're providing the services that they're supposed to, or if they fail to provide services that are in their contract. So I guess the question is CAL FIRE better than a locally controlled department? If CAL FIRE fails to meet contract items, how and what would you do if they are maintained? And let's start that with Mr. Riddell.
No, they're not meeting the terms of the contract. I made a lengthy presentation, and it's at one of our board meetings. In fact, we all did, and I listed the service levels that they did not deliver on, and I referenced that to the contract, the violations in the contract. And as far as making them do anything, no, you can't. I wanted to put a clause in the contract that when they don't deliver, we don't pay them, and I couldn't get a majority of board support. So no, there's nothing you can do. Whether they give you everything or they give you nothing, you have to pay them. And that's another one of the complaints I have with that organization. But no, they have not delivered, and there's a lengthy list, and I don't have enough time to go through it. But I'm willing to give it to anybody who would like to see it.
Thank you. Mr. Alfano, the contract.
That's where we're at today. The contract was presented to us by the state of California and CAL FIRE. It's a boilerplate contract. Within a couple of years into that contract, they weren't performing. It was very vague on some of the contract items. The board worked to address those items and hold them accountable. And at the end of the day, if they're not performing, the only way we can fix this is to cancel the contract. It's the worst contract I've ever seen. And that's the situation we're in today. Most communities go to CAL FIRE because they can't afford their own fire service. We can afford our own fire service. That's why we're here today. We have an obligation to the community to give them the best level of service that we can afford. We're not here to make money off the taxpayers. So that's the situation. That's why we're here today, is to increase that level of service. We tried with CAL FIRE for 5 years, and they're not performing.
Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Cockrell.
Repeat the
Oh, it has to do with the contract. If CAL FIRE, is CAL FIRE better? Is it meeting the contract items, or what would you do if they weren't?
The last I saw the contract items, there were, I believe, either 274 or 273 separate items, which I thought was kind of a mistake. From my perspective, they are certainly meeting the contract. When I sat on the board, all I heard was glowing praise. Leading up to this area here, what I saw were people coming to the meetings praising CAL FIRE, not damning CAL FIRE. And that's one of the reasons why we ended up where we are, is because they're expressing this opinion to the board, saying we're happy with CAL FIRE, we're pleased with the service we're getting. These are, folks, these are the people who live here. These are the people that need these services. They're the best judge of whether CAL FIRE is performing or not. And their votes overwhelmingly was yes, they're doing a hell of a good job. We want them. We don't want them to leave. And so when we began, unfortunately, we had to resort to the recall when the board refused to listen to the public. And that's unfortunate because I don't like recalls as a matter of policy, but we were backed into that position. So here we are right now, and when we started to do this, people flocked to sign the petitions. That tells me they were happy with what they have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ms. Anderson, is CAL FIRE meeting the contract, or if they fail to meet it?
I have been hearing these allegations for several months now that the reason they want to get rid of CAL FIRE is because they're not meeting their contract. But never once have I heard, including tonight, have I heard even one specific way in which they're not meeting their contract. You can say that, it doesn't make it so. I've heard nothing. All I know is that when I have gone to the fire board meetings, and I've gone to all of them since I became involved in this last July, I have not once heard anyone from the audience stand up and agree with what the fire board majority has done. Not once, not one person. And there have been a lot of very vocal residents that have spoken in favor of CAL FIRE. The grand jury thinks they're doing okay with the contract, and I'm not going against what I believe them.
Thank you. Mr. McIntosh, how do you feel about the contract, if it's being met or whatever?
Well, I'll just echo something that's been said before. Unfortunately, it is a take it or leave it contract. I wish we could have Mr. Riddell's solution of fines or something else that you normally find in a contract when service levels are dropped. I've spent a lot of time talking about the specifics, and that documentation is all available. Tonight I don't have time to go into the issues of the fire prevention service and the failures there. I don't have any the time to go into and talk about the issues of how hard the board has fought to get things like plans done, fire planning and other things that are very important that try and deal with how fast they get to your home. And I'm afraid somewhere along the line my hearing must be different, because I've heard plenty of people talk about problems.
Thank you. And let's see, finally, Mr. McCusick.
Well, first of all, I'm a Keep Cal Fire person, and this is a great bunch of people. I've talked to a few of the firemen, and I've been impressed with their courtesy, their hard work, and their overall manner. When I saw them, they were washing the fire truck, and they treated me quite politely when I was intrusively coming up and taking pictures. And they showed me they understood how the fire truck worked and answered me some important questions about fire alarms right while they worked. And this is a good deal for our coast side. The price is right and the service is outstanding.